It's a game that has captured the imagination and passion of the entire planet, with a mythos and lore that rivals even Tolkien. And now, for the first time ever, it's being brought to the big screen, guaranteeing an experience that will stun audiences the world over.
What the hell did I just watch? Hello everyone, it's me, Aaron, Professor Thorgi, your guide to all things geeky, and welcome to another episode of Thorgi Reviews, the review show where I cover everything from the world of geekery, whether it be video games, movies, or in rare instances, video game movies. And that's what we're here to do today. You see, you guys have been requesting that I review Warcraft, the massive new movie dedicated to the even more massive video game franchise. But before we begin, I have to make something very clear, which is that yes, I love video games. But I've never played Warcraft. Ever. Never even downloaded the free trial. Never touched it for a second. Ever. Never. And the reason why is not because I think it's a bad game. I don't. I've never even tried it. And it's not because I don't think I wouldn't like it. I'm sure I would love it. It's because I have heard the horror stories about that game. I've heard how addictive that game gets. And I know me. I have a super addictive personality. When I get hooked on something, it is next to impossible to get me off of it. I mean, hell, at the moment, I'm addicted to Overwatch, and I bet I'm playing that right now as you're watching this video. Told you. So yes, that's why I never played Warcraft. I avoided it for my own safety. But, speaking as someone who has never played Warcraft, that's actually a good thing, because there's a lot of people out there who have never played Warcraft, and they want to know, is this movie good for me? So I will be approaching this film as someone who doesn't know the backstory. And judging this film as someone who doesn't know the backstory, I can sum up my feelings for this movie with a simple, huh? Now, I'm not going to say whether or not that was a bad huh or a good huh, although I don't really know if there is such a thing as a good huh, but I will go ahead and address one thing that has probably brought many of you to this review. You see, I know that there are some of you out there who like to see me review bad movies. You like to watch me rant and rave, you like to see me put bad movies down, and I understand that. I do the exact same thing with other critics. No judgment here. I fully understand the entertainment value in watching that. However, I have to bring this up because this movie has been getting awful reviews. Flat out terrible reviews. People are saying this is one of the worst movies of the year. People are saying this is a modern day Battlefield Earth. And to all those critics, I would just like to say, are you out of your damn fool minds? For real? One of the worst movies of the year? I'm not gonna say whether or not I like this movie because in all honesty, I'm still trying to figure that out. But the worst movie of the year? If this is the worst movie of the year, this is going to be one of the greatest years for movies ever. Now, as some of you might know, every single year I make my 10 worst movies of the year list. And I don't just sit down and go, oh, what movies did I see this year? Well, I guess that one wasn't that good. No. I go out there and I see what everyone else is calling some of the worst movies of the year, and then I sit down and I marathon all those movies within the course of a few days. Why on earth would I do this? It's so that way I can get perspective. It's so that way I can actually get an understanding for what films are out there and what the range of movies are. It's so that way I can cleanse the palate and I don't just go around labeling everything as garbage that I don't like. It's so that way I can actually see the good in things that some other people might be putting down. And speaking as somebody who does this every single year, this film doesn't hold a candle to any of the films that I've ever put on my 10 worst movies of the year list. This isn't even the worst movie that I've already seen this year, and I haven't even begun putting that list together. And a modern day Battlefield Earth? Did you even see Battlefield Earth? Because if you did, you would know we do not go around just labeling films that, alright? That's almost offensive to call a movie that. Take it from somebody who last year alone saw 50 Shades of Grey, Fantastic Four, Jim and Okay, we don't actually like to say that one's name on this channel, but as the person who saw all those films, this one isn't even close to being a worst movie of the year. That being said, it did have some problems. It's got problems. We'll just say that. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into this thing. Now, the story of Warcraft is divided into two halves, the orcs and the humans. Now, it starts with us following the orcs, and the orcs world has been destroyed because they've been using too much of a dark magic called the Fel. So, this evil orc wizard, who has united all the orc clans underneath him, uses this Fel magic to open up a gateway into the human world, and they begin invading so that they can take their world. But some of the orcs don't feel good about this. They don't want to take the humans' world, and they don't want to be united under this dark wizard orc who has no respect for their traditions. So they have to reflect upon what they've done and what this means for their future and their children's future. Now, I'll just go ahead and say that everything with the orcs is wonderful. I went into this movie hearing all the negative reviews, and as I sat there and watched this opening, all I could think was, what the hell are you all talking about? This movie is great. The acting is wonderful. The story is compelling. You really feel real emotions coming from these characters, and it's all motion captured, so you don't just have the characters just standing there all stiff. They make very subtle motions, like just the way they touch their face, that adds such life and personality to them. And the villain is wonderful. I love a good villain, and this evil orc wizard guy, I'm sorry, I don't know any of their names. I am terrible at mythological names. I will admit that. But this evil orc wizard guy, he is so threatening. He sends chills down your spine with just a word. There is a moment in which he has all these elves held captive so that he can use them as sacrifices for his spell. And there's a mother just screaming out, please, you can keep me, but just let my children go. Please, just let my children go. And he just turns and goes, but I need them. Not aggressive, not overbearing and dominant, just as is. Like he's talking about sugar that he needs for a cake. I'm sorry, I can't spare any sugar today. Or children's souls. And that is a far more menacing way to deliver that line than any way else. And it goes to really impressive places with the story. There are so many moments when it's focusing on the orcs in which I gasp or would say, oh damn! It actually did bring out real emotions in me watching this. I saw this movie about 2 days ago, and the more I think about it, the more I really do love the orcs part of this story. Then there's the humans. F those guys. I was loving this movie. I was scouring my mind to try and come up with a reason why it was getting such bad reviews. And then the humans came in and answered that question for me. I hated the humans so much that if orcs ever did invade our world, I would just betray the humans. I wouldn't even care. I'm 6'3", I got bad teeth, you can paint me green and I'm good to go. There are tons of problems with the human side of this story, and I'll get to them in a moment, but the biggest problem is the biggest problem with this entire film, which is that the moment that you switch over to the humans, they don't introduce you to Jack. Do you play Warcraft? Awesome, you're good to go. Do you not play Warcraft? You're screwed. Because this film just throws you full into the story and the mythology and all the locations and the characters, and it doesn't stop to explain a thing to you. And if you could possibly maybe figure it out on your own, well, you don't have time for that, because the moment that you start to go, wait, I think I understand, it then hits you with something else. It just moves from one crazy thing to the next, never giving you a moment to breathe, never giving you a moment to try and understand anything that's going on. And I'll admit, there is a little bit of that in the orc side of the story. Like, it took me about half of the film to figure out why some of them were green and some of them were not so green. But in all honesty, I probably should have been able to figure that out sooner, and as I said, I did eventually figure it out on my own. The humans, on the other hand, there's one guy on the human side who I didn't figure out throughout the entire film who he was, what his motivations were, why he's helping them, why is he doing what he's doing, what's his backstory. I never figured out any of that, and he's a major character on the human side. That's how bad this film is about explaining stuff to you. I had to use the bathroom when I saw this film, and I sat there and held it for an hour because I just kept telling myself, no, any second now there's going to be that moment in which they explain stuff. Any second now they will finally tell us what the hell is going on. And eventually it got to that point in which I was like, okay, well, it's getting kind of late into this film, so if they explained it now, it would kind of suck, but at least we would get that explanation. And then it kept going, and it kept going, and eventually I just had to admit defeat and go, oh, they're not going to explain anything, are they? That's just the kind of movie this is. This, to me, fully sums up what I'm talking about. About an hour and a half into this movie, 75% of the way through this film, you see one of these characters riding a griffin off to a place, and I thought, okay, well, he's probably going to this place, or this place. These are the big places that we've seen so far. He's probably returning to one of those, because there is no way that they would introduce a brand new place this far into the film. Nope! He goes to a place we have never heard mentioned before throughout this film, gotten no introduction to it at all. It's this big floating place surrounded by wizards with glowing blue eyes, and they're guarding a big black box, and none of that means anything to me. I just sat there, like, when the hell did this get explained? Where is this coming from? Don't act like we should all know what this is. Not all of us got the textbook before coming to this class. The director Duncan Jones said that he wanted this movie to be the Lord of the Rings of video game movies. And in all honesty, it very well might be. Saying that you want to be the anything of video game movies is not really setting the bar all that high. But here's the difference. I'll admit to you, when I went and saw Lord of the Rings, I had not yet read those books. I didn't know anything about Lord of the Rings. Just like when I saw this movie, I didn't know anything about Warcraft. However, Lord of the Rings starts with an introduction. It starts with the narrator explaining to you what the background of this world is. Starts by telling you what you need to know to understand the story that you are about to experience. And from there, it starts small, by introducing us to one character after another until we can feel fully immersed in this world. And they even give you little tiny heads up all throughout this movie. Whenever they meet a new monster, they stop and go, oh, it's this thing. So even if I didn't know what it was, I would still have some kind of an understanding for it. Or if they go to a new location, rather than me just going, what the hell is this place? Someone goes, ah, yes, this is this place where this happened, and we're going to do this here. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you, got it, good. Cool. This film, Warcraft, has none of that. This film is the equivalent of not watching the first Lord of the Rings film, but skipping the first two and going straight to the third one 5 minutes before the Ghost Army shows up. That's what this movie does. By the way, if you haven't seen Lord of the Rings, spoiler that there is a Ghost Army. Now again, let me go ahead and clarify this. I'm saying all this as someone who knows nothing about Warcraft. All I know about Warcraft is the Lich King and Leroy Jenkins. That's all I know, and I didn't even realize this until after I left the theater and I got a tweet from one of my followers who said, yeah, that stuff you know, that's not even Warcraft. That's World of Warcraft. Warcraft is the prequel that comes before World of Warcraft, and the moment that I read that, I felt my intestines just sink like 5 inches in my body. Just like, oh God, oh God, my heart. Oh God, there's so much backstory. I'm not even at the stuff yet that I know. Holy cow. It's like when you're playing a video game and you're fighting a big, giant, difficult boss, and you're like, okay, he was kicking my ass, but I think I'm starting to get him. I think I'm starting to understand how this works. I think I'm gonna be okay. And then he just transforms into his second, more powerful form. You're like, well, I'm screwed, why even try? But I wanted to make that clear that I have not played Warcraft, because if you have played Warcraft, you are going to have a totally different opinion from me, and that's perfectly fine. Everyone I know and everyone I follow online who plays Warcraft have come out of this film loving it, saying that it is a perfect tribute to the fans. It's everything that they wanted to see, and that's great. I'm not going to come in here and tell you wrong. This movie was made for you, so you get to have that opinion that you wanted. I am just speaking as someone who is not from that world, who has not experienced that. So if this movie is not made for me, and it's made for you, then go ahead, have whatever feeling you want about this. Just realize it's kind of made just for you. For example, this film right now has roughly a 22% on Rotten Tomatoes, and when you think about how big and popular Warcraft is, yeah, I'd say about 22% of critics have played that game. However, even if you love Warcraft, you have to admit, this movie's got some problems to it. And once again, all those problems come from the humans. Oh, those no good, rotten humans. They ruin everything. The environment, Warcraft, probably a third thing. But even if you love this film, you have to admit, the human side is flat. As I said, I love the orcs, and I love the orcs because they have such humanity to them. In fact, the orcs have more humanity than the actual humans. How did that happen? But all the humans in this film, they deliver every single line very regally, very nobly, very proper. And they deliver it so proper, it lacks life. It lacks personality. There are many lines that, yeah, they should be said very proper, but there are many lines that when you just sit down and think about the line that was just said, you realize that was supposed to be a joke. That was supposed to be said with a sense of humor, but you're still delivering it very much like this. Or there's another moment in which something very tragic has happened to a character, and another character is there in mourning, and he goes, "This is one of the worst moments in my entire life." And I was like, really? Because you just kind of sound mildly bummed. And of course, the story itself with the humans, nothing really all that special. When anything terrible happened to the orcs, I always went, oh no! But whenever anything terrible happened to the humans, I just went, called it! So, in the end, the humans are basically just a bunch of people saying things that I don't understand in a voice that lacks the emotions to make me care. However, that doesn't mean it's all bad. As I said, the orcs are great. If this was just a movie about the orcs, I would gladly have said this is truly the first great video game movie. And I will also say that even if I found many things in the human side of the story very predictable, it takes some twists there at the end of this movie that I did not see coming. I was sitting there going, no way are they going to do this, and then they did indeed do it. And they're doing that to set up a sequel, and the setup for that sequel sounds far more interesting than what this movie was. Seriously, I'm kind of glad that this movie is doing so well over in China, because I kind of do want to see a sequel. I kind of hope that they do learn from this film, because there is promise here. There is the promise of the first truly great video game movie. And I feel like in a couple of years when we finally have achieved that, this film is going to be looked back upon as an important stepping stone. It will be looked back upon as a learning experience, because there were some really good things in here. Some things that other video game films have problems with that this one fixed. However, it then raised some new problems that other video game films don't have. So I feel like if we can just look back at this film and take notes on it, it can eventually get us to that point. So in the end, this movie really averages out to be okay. Kind of like how X-Men Apocalypse did last week, except that with X-Men Apocalypse, the highs were here and the lows were here. With this movie, the highs are here and the lows are here. However, in a weird way, that makes me kind of want to recommend it more, because yeah, the lows were really upsetting and frustrating, but those highs were so good, it kind of makes it worth sticking through those lows. But again, that's just coming from someone who is not a Warcraft fan, from someone who has never played Warcraft. So that is why I have to give this movie my score of 1 weekend-long free trial of Warcraft. Yes, this is not a sponsored video, and you can tell because I'm not nearly famous enough for that. But I really do feel like the best way to experience this movie is not in 3D, not in HD, not in whatever that RPX thing is that they have at Regal Cinemas. No, the best way to experience this movie is after you have spent an entire weekend just sitting down and learning what the heck everything in this movie means. You know, maybe that's what I should do. I've been avoiding Warcraft for so long, but maybe it's finally time that I give it a try. I mean, this movie did intrigue me. Yeah, that's what I should do. I should finally experience Warcraft. Finally get over this fear I have of being addicted to it and finally give it a try. That's what I'm gonna do after I'm done playing Overwatch. Hey everybody, thank you very much for watching today's episode, and a big thank you to David Colucci and to John Joe. They're the two guys who actually requested that I review Warcraft. And remember, if there's anything that you want to see me review from the world of geekery, whether it be comic books, video games, movies, or anything in between, then leave that in the comments down below. You can also leave requests for me on Twitter and Tumblr by following me at Professor Thorgi. And remember, if you like this episode, then make sure that you hit that thumb up, make sure that you leave a comment, and make sure that you share it all around the web. It's the best way to help out this channel. You guys have been doing that a lot lately, and it really shows. We've been growing so much, and I know it's all because of your hard work. Also, if you want to see some more stuff from me right now, take that, Torbjorn. Then you can click on any of the videos around my head, and you can come back every single week for more reviews. Dang it! Alright, I'm dead, so now I can actually say, thank you guys, come back next week. See ya.